evening. My name's Tom Stoukas, coming to you live from Sarnia, Ontario, on this June 3rd, Tuesday, hot Tuesday in southwestern Ontario. Hope everybody's having a nice day. So, Tuesday. It feels like the week. I don't know. It doesn't feel like Tuesday. So, we were talking yesterday about the First Minister's meeting with the Prime Minister, talking. Doug Ford said it was an awesome meeting, and Carney's like Santa Claus, and they're gonna have such a great time spending all those hundreds of billions of dollars they're talking about, and they're talking like these big projects, multi-billion-dollar projects, and I'm like, wow, the way they were talking, like they weren't talking about any of the big problems like high taxes, high number of government employees, high too many regulations, just everything like high immigration, high housing prices, all the like the meat and potato issues that affect people. They're talking about infrastructure projects that are like should have just gotten done on their own over the decades, and they're not shouldn't be seen as saving our economy. They should be just things that need to get done, like capital investments, and they haven't been done. We don't have we have Via Rail that's from like still the same from the 1970s. We have the worst traffic in Canada in the GTA, and like we have a lot of issues that were really ignored over the years. The subways in Toronto should be way more subway lines in Toronto. Like they should have been building subways all the time. Now they're trying to catch up, and oh my God, like they want to build one of these multi-billion-dollar projects was a tunnel under the 401, and it's like I just can see that being a total disaster, $100 billion disaster. And then if you look at the Eglinton Crosstown in Toronto. I lived in Toronto 15 years ago. They were talking about building it, and 15 years ago, yeah, it was 15 years ago. They're still building it. So they say it's going to get done by September. We'll see. Like open it by September. And then they'll probably try and do a multi-billion-dollar rail corridor from Windsor to Ottawa, let's say, or even to Montreal. And, if they can do that, that'd be great. But Canadian winters aren't very good for high-speed rail, I don't think. I don't know. I just know it's going to cost a lot of money, and they'll probably screw it up. And then further east, this is the funniest thing I heard coming out of the ministers' meeting, is they want to spend like $8 to $10 billion on wind farms on the ocean, and then they're going to run a wire to the east coast, through the east coast, into like the rest of the rest of Canada to power up all the homes with wind energy from the. Sounds great. I don't think it's going to work. It doesn't sound. It sounds a lot harder than they're making it out to be. Yeah, and then Ontario wants to do the modular nuclear reactors, and like we have a good nuclear industry in Ontario, and these modular reactors are like 20 billion a pop, and China makes them, the U.S. makes a lot of competition, like so, and it's iffy. The tech still kind of iffy. I don't know a lot about it, but they're going to spend a few billion on that, or they want to. Like it's just like a Christmas list here. It sounds like the communist 5-year plan. Like we're going to build all this stuff, and to be damn whoever cares. Like we're going to just do it. sounds very like authoritarian, but like at the same time, nothing gets done. But things could have got done over time, like as the population grew, and nothing got done. And then you got the oil pipeline. They're already disagreeing on it. Like basically Quebec saying no pipeline. So now Danielle Smith was saying like um, go from Hudson Bay to the east to the west coast, which makes no sense. Hudson Bay is not a viable port. Um, and even BC saying we don't want a bitumen pipeline, and so like this premier's meeting's a joke. Basically, all they don't want to do is spend hundreds of millions of dollars just to, and while at the same time Trump's making them look foolish and doing his tariffs on the steel and all that. They want to spend hundreds of billions of dollars, and they're going to screw it all up just like they did COVID. And then, if you thought inflation was bad, now wait till this stuff gets, if it even goes forward. It's right now it's just a bunch of hot air, just to kind of mask their failure, blame old Trump, and then they say they're going to save us from Trump. So I don't know how long that's going to last. But yeah, the wind west thing from the east, that's crazy. 10 billion to do a wind farm. Oh my god. How many billions? They want to like, where are they going to get all this money? Someone's I don't see the private sector running to invest in all this. So it sounds really bad. And even with Trump, I read somewhere today they're going to come to a trade deal before G7 next week in the middle of the month, sorry. Um, Trump's coming to Canada, yeah. And so, like, what was that all about if they come to a trade deal? They're still going to do the nation building projects, spend $500 billion. So it's weird. It's like Trump just didn't like Trudeau, and then he didn't like Pierre, so he's like, whatever, Carney's, I'll make a bunch of noise, and I don't know. We'll see how it all plays out. But I have no faith in the premiers and Mark Carney to build Canada into a superpower, whatever the hell they're talking about. They want to do a clean energy superpower or something, and they already destroyed the credibility with the EV batteries, which with all those companies going bankrupt. So I'm not very optimistic. Meanwhile, Pierre Polyev, it's his birthday today. Happy birthday, I guess. He had a post today about immigration, and it was a little more tougher than usual that he talks about immigration. But maybe he should have done that like a year ago, Like he just rode his lead and didn't talk about nothing and did the ethnic pandering. And now he's concerned about immigration. Like he's such a phony. Such a phony. And his polling is horrible, apparently. His personal polling. The party itself might be better, but his polling's in the toilet. And it's like the guy's so late on everything. Like he should have been on the immigration thing. Like Donald Trump, when he ran for re-election against Kamala, the first words that came out of his mouth against even Joe Biden in the first debate were the border, immigration, close the border, this and that, no more migrants. He said that was the first line, and that was almost the last line, and he won the election because that's what people wanted. And nobody in the Canadian politic arena there had the guts to talk about immigration, and they were called racist if they tried or banned from the debate, like Maxime Bernier. So, yeah, it's a little too late for Pierre. He just puts his finger in the wind, licks his finger, puts it in the wind to see which way it's blowing. That's my opinion. And, yeah, immigration wasn't talked about, just like COVID wasn't, the COVID tyranny wasn't debated during that election. Immigration wasn't debated during this election. It's only going to get worse. But Carney thinks he can, like they, you know why they want all these billion-dollar projects is to build up the $100 million Canadian initiative, whatever century initiative, because that's more consumers, more GDP. And they think they can just keep ramming this immigration thing as long as they're spending billions and keeping the unions happy. I don't think so. But like I said, judging from the premier's meeting, I'm not really too encouraged from what they're gonna do. Like even that note, was it? Is it the Nova Scotia premier? That's Susan Holt. Oh my God, she's weird. Like I see $10 billion going down the toilet, and that's it. But this thing, we're stuck with it. Like Carney's numbers, I saw a poll, it was like 40 preference for prime ministers for 47 to 27 for over Polyev. That's pretty bad. That's big. Anyway, it's just all a mess. And then all they say is another thing I saw seeing today is on the Canada apparently is on fire. Looks like wildfire season. I don't know if they're trying to scare everybody. We'll see how bad it is. But I read somewhere like it's more like most of the fires are started by humans, just people smoking or not putting out their fires. Who knows? So let's see what's on the recall today. Just the regular stuff in Canada. The regular BS. The regular BS. Excuse me. So, this is what I saw today. This is hilarious. They're going to build a bunch of windmills in the ocean, and it's going to power all of Canada. I want to see this.
Process of licensing.
Okay.
What if Nova Scotia could power up to 27% of Canada's electricity needs? Stop and think about that. That would make Nova Scotia an energy superpower.
Superpower.
Sounds like a stretch, right? Well, it's not. Right now, Nova Scotia is on the edge of a clean energy breakthrough. And we're already in the process of licensing 5 gigawatts of offshore wind energy. For context, our entire province only uses about 2.4 gigawatts at peak demand. This 5 gigawatts, in and of itself, is massive. It's twice what we use today. But the real story? Our offshore wind zones could generate up to 66 gigawatts. Not 2, not 4, not 5, 66. And with steady winds that blow about 60% of the time, Nova Scotia can produce a reliable 40 gigawatts. So here's the next question. Why produce that reliable 40 gigawatts when you only need 2? Unless you can export the rest. Well, you can't export clean power without a way to move it. We need a cable, ideally along a national energy corridor, to deliver that wind energy westward across Canada.
West.
We call it Wind West.
Wind West.
And Nova Scotia's Wind West project can produce enough energy that is the equivalent of powering up to 27% of the country's needs. This energy is very valuable. New England has massive extra energy needs, and they're certainly not alone. I support the Prime Minister's vision of making Canada an energy superpower. That's why I fully support projects like Energy East that are important for the West and our entire country. But Nova Scotia has a lot to contribute to making Canada an energy superpower. Canada would be even stronger with Energy East and Wind West. We've been handed a golden ticket. With global uncertainty rising, with growing pressure for us to do our part, and with Nova Scotia ranked 60th out of 60 in GDP per capita in North America, we cannot afford to let this moment pass us by. Of course, there are questions. Big projects always raise questions, but we are committed to working with Nova Scotians to ensure this project will benefit everyone. Industry is desperate for clean, reliable energy. Wind West could fuel battery plants, AI data centers, industries of the future, and it would transform our economy here in Nova Scotia. For our workers, for our families, it would be a game changer. My government's ready to...
I don't know. Look at this guy's face. I don't really trust this guy, a face like that. I don't know why. Something about it's a bit off.
Invest. Private capital is ready to invest, but it will take the political will of the federal government to step up with funding too. We're
Of
at
course,
the table,
funding.
we have our sleeves rolled up. We're ready to paint a new, self-reliant and prosperous picture for the future of Nova Scotia and Canada. So, what are we waiting for? Let's make it happen right now with Wind West.
Wind West. Wind West. Yeah. All right.
For me, it's
So that's the thing. I thought that's crazy. Like they're gonna put a bunch of windmills in the ocean, and it's gonna put a line, and it's gonna go and power all these houses. And look, and AI data centers, and if it does, if they do build it, it said that, by the way, they said it's gonna cost like 8 to 10 billion. So that means it'll probably cost like 20 billion. Like I don't want to be a negative downer on it, but yikes, I don't know, it just sounds very hard, a lot harder than they're making it sound. But if they do it, and it does everything this guy says it's going to do, it could do, then I would be the first to admit I'm wrong, but I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. I see a lot of money going into the ocean and not coming back. But we'll see. Just saw this post. It's a little Sarnia related. Rupa Subramanya did an article, DII kills people, it's an evil ideology. Just ask Richard Biltzo's family and friends. Racist smear tarnished career in the suicide of Richard Biltzo. So this guy was a principal in Ontario. He took a DEI course with this company called Kojo or something, and they made him out to be like a racist because he might have interfered with the training, and he ended up killing himself. And these same people were in Sarnia doing the DEI training for the city council, and a couple of our councillors got into trouble. They got in a little argument with her, the same person that this guy killed himself over. I thought that was interesting. They're grifters. They're pretty well, I think they're going to go out of business, these DEI grifters. All right. Next, here's the bunch of the clowns sitting at the table. Ryan Garrettson. Kind of echoes my thoughts. All talk. Zero nation building projects will be built, and they have endless excuses at the ready when months go by and people start noticing that nothing is happening. Yeah, like the wind thing, I don't see it happening. And if it is, it's going to be like 20 years from now, and they'll have fission reactors by then. And then the modular nuclear reactors, I don't see that happening either. And the tunnel, God help us with that. And then the train, I don't see that happening. I don't see any of this happening. All right. Next post. Canada's on track to bring some 3 million new immigrants this year. That's a lot. Population of the city of Toronto is officially listed as 2.9 million. That's the city, not the GTA surrounding area. In other words, in order to accommodate this influx, Canada would have to build an entire city of Toronto every year. Homelessness, tent cities, and crime will increase massively at this rate. So yeah, 3 million a year. Well, we got like already a million in the first quarter, so another 2 quarters. Third quarter, yeah, I don't know. 3 million. It's a lot. All right. And while the ministers were meeting, or the prime minister and the premiers were meeting in Saskatoon, we had this protest outside of people that want to stay in Canada. And under Trudeau, they thought they were good to go, and now they're worried. So Canada's got a problem because we're taking in all these, but we still got millions here that we're kind of supposed to go back. That's like a visa's not a permanent thing. So.
Acquire the experience. So where I will get.
Okay.
We are paying the employer like so much money to get only the job letter, and also they are not giving us full hours. Like I am working 91 hours in 2 weeks, but they are just. He is giving me 85 hours. That's not fair. I can't help my family.
How much money did you invest?
Like I paid around $30,000 my fees for 2 years.
And then you have to stay as well.
Yeah, of course I have to stay because I paid money to these colleges. And even if I'm trying to do health job, they require the experience. So where I will get my experience if you are not giving me the job?
You get the picture. And the problem is it's horrible. Like these guys are coming from India and other parts of the world to, obviously they want a better life, okay? But the problem is we got like this sort of bloodsucker network, international network of consultants, immigration consultants that go to these countries and sell these, especially when Trudeau was in, sell them dreams of milk and honey in Canada and get them to sign their kids up for school and say, okay, once they get in their school program, they're going to be able to stay, and for all they still might be able to stay. So then they get into this years of uncertainty because the immigration consultants are promising the moon. The Liberal government's pro-immigration, and then you got 5 million people in Canada that aren't citizens. So it's a horrible situation that should have been avoided. But the plan was to bring them in through the colleges, and then let them stay. Like that was the plan. And then when people started saying no, that's not good, that shouldn't happen, then people actually started opposing it. Then they put these kind of timid efforts to tamp it down, but they knew what they were doing from the start. The colleges knew. They all were in it for the money, and now we got all these millions of people that don't want to go home. Like the idea is, if we were led to believe, when all these colleges in Ontario were taking in international students, we're led to believe they're coming here, they're going to get educated, they're going to go back to their country and fix their country. No, the whole plan from the start was they come here, they get their 2-year diploma, and they get permanent residence. That's what they were probably promised. So it's ridiculous. Such a joke. And that's what I said, immigration consultants, they're bloodsuckers in Canada. And you go to Toronto, you see them on signs everywhere. Immigration consultant. They'll promise you the moon to keep the fees coming in. Oh, we need 6 more months. We need a good crackdown on unscrupulous immigration agents. It's never going to happen, of course. And then here's some more video of these guys. I don't know if this is real, but it looks like it is legit. Yeah, we're screwed. We're screwed.
How was that pussy, though?
Oh, sorry, guys. I don't even know what that is. We're so screwed. All right, there's the win. Legislation enabling the development of offshore renewable energy. in Newfoundland and Labrador comes into force for the first time. So even Newfoundland's getting into the game. Who knew? Who knew you could put windmills in the ocean and power the whole country? We'll see. Ryan Garrettson doesn't think that's going to happen. Absolute epic waste of money and resources. That also describes our government. It sounds like it's a waste. I mean, we got enough natural gas to last 100 years, but we're going to put windmills in the ocean. I don't know, man. It sounds really hard to put windmills in the ocean. Have you seen the ocean? Look, the Titanic, man, couldn't last in the ocean there, in the North Atlantic. Maybe I'm just being negative. I don't know. Next post. Oh, here's the protesters. So this protester thing's funny. We're leading into something funny. So there's them out there at the First Minister's meeting. Wonder who put this stunt together.
What do you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10?
Now this is where the mini controversy starts, and it kind of shows the problem in Canada. You can't talk about immigration. The problem in Canada is you couldn't talk for the last 10 years since Trudeau came, even with Harper, but since Trudeau flooded the market, you couldn't talk about it. You couldn't say, hey, hang on, maybe this isn't such a good idea. Maybe we should go in a different direction. But you couldn't talk about it at all. And now you've got to be like a Nazi to talk to figure out what's going on. Like, or at least they call you that. Like, you got to do like mass deportations. Like, it's pretty harsh stuff. It didn't have to be like that. It could have just been like, let's not do that kind of stuff, like bring in millions of people. So, I mean, Maxime Bernier's drawing a little flack because he's like, his English isn't his first language, guys. Come on. He's, sorry. We don't need these foreign parasites. They should all be deported. So, okay. So he's getting called racist for saying foreign parasites. But, you know, it's a free country. He's allowed to call them foreign parasites. You know, look at that. I don't know. So he's getting a little flack from like guys like Andrew. What's his name? Andrew, the guy, the writer for National Post. I can't remember. Anyway, we'll come up on his tweet. So, you know, the old racist thing. You couldn't talk about immigration. But now people are starting to talk about it. Too late now. This post is one of Carney's new right-hand men, David Lametti, who is his principal. He's been appointed as principal secretary. He was in the government during the convoy, and he jokingly or not asked how many tanks Marco Mendocino needed for the Freedom Convoy protesters. Carney's name is even mentioned in this text. These people reward the most vile individuals. Too many people are being seriously adversely impacted by what is an occupation. I'm getting noticed as soon as I can. People are looking to you for leadership and not stupid people. People like Carney, Kath, my team. How many tanks are you asking for? I just want to ask Anita how many. Yeah, like these guys are all traitors, man. Carney, Anita Anand, David Lametti, Marco Mendocino. They're all traitors, man. Trudeau. Look how they get off on trying to get tanks. They're probably so disappointed that they didn't get their tanks. I wish they did the tanks. Do we even have tanks? That's the question. I don't even know if Canada has any operational tanks. I see a tank in front of the Legion, but it doesn't look like it works anymore. All right, next post. Some more. This is interesting. Piers Morgan's going all nuts against Israel lately. So you know things are bad, and you know they're bad. You know they're doing bad shit when Piers Morgan, who's usually kind of an Israeli shill, not shill, but I guess a shill, usually he's very pro-Israel, and now he's like totally different. It's weird. It's weird. But we were talking about yesterday is the PR war. It's such an intense PR war right now for Israel's international image, and they're losing it. It looks like it seems that they're losing the situation. They're losing the PR battle. If Piers Morgan is against you, like he's not. He's being very blunt against Israeli policies, which is very surprising because he's not usually that critical of Israel. So they're fucking killing lots of people if that's the case. And here's Danielle Smith, who looked like she didn't even want to be at the premier's meeting. She looked like she was getting her tooth pulled, listening to these clowns talk, and she's probably so happy that she's back home in Alberta. So I interviewed her 15 years ago when she was Wild Rose, and she seemed pretty intelligent and well-read on the issues, the local issues I was interviewing her on in the oil industry in northeastern Alberta. She was pretty up-to-date on the file. And I think she's like just being diplomatic here. Let's see what she says.
Value and the split, again.
I think sometimes Canadians will hear this debate and say, well, that might be of benefit to Alberta, but what about my region of the country? What do you say to that?
Well, if Northern Gateway had been built, it was a 595,000 barrel a day project. Canada would have benefited to the tune of $59 billion. That's how much revenue would have flown to the federal government, and provinces would have gotten $72 billion worth of benefit. Lots of that going to Alberta, but also with the spin-offs to all of the different provinces as well. That's a lot of money that can go to build a lot of schools and hospitals and roads and infrastructure. And so that's what is the foregone revenue because that project didn't get built when it should have. When we look at that along with Energy East, along with Keystone XL, it just magnifies it. We could have by now had 2.5 million barrels per day more of production. That's $55 billion worth of GDP value. And the split, again, we benefit at the provincial level almost as much as the federal government does. So when the federal government is able to get those dollars, they're able to share them in the rest of the country. And that's part of the value proposition about why we want to see those projects built. It's even getting more so as we start talking to each other about, well, if we need to build 42-inch pipe, where can we get that from? Who can produce it? Right now, I think there's only one place in Canada that can. So why don't we find a way to retool our factories so we can build more of the products that we need for those major projects in-house? And that's, I think, the really constructive conversation that's now happening across the country, is that if we have an American partner that doesn't want to buy our products anymore, how do we buy more from each other? And I think that that's going to be the other way that we have additional benefits. So.
Okay. So, yeah, she seems pretty smart, but she's kind of echoing what I said, where instead of like, now you got $500 billion worth of wish list projects, like maybe you should have just been doing them at the appropriate times without the BS, like she's saying about these pipelines that should have been built and would have been producing huge money right now. So, yeah. I don't know. We'll see how the things go, the projects go. Like, that's the projects. We got a long list of projects. See if it happens. But regardless of the projects, we still have a lot of issues in Canada that they didn't even talk about. They didn't talk about housing. They didn't talk about, they did talk about, like, they're going to build all this housing too, like at a separate meeting. So it's like, that's a lot of money these guys are going to spend, man. Mega projects, housing. Oh my God. We're screwed. Portnoy. Next post is Portnoy in Toronto. Welcome to Toronto. He was in Toronto for a Bitcoin conference and was reviewing pizza at a restaurant on Harbour Street when someone yelled, "Fuck the Jews," at him. It was hilarious. I mean, whatever. He is kind of a degenerate piece of shit, but I'm sure that's who they were directing the thing to. And then here's a picture of Danielle Smith and Mark Carney in some futuristic looking room building one united Canadian economy. So it's kind of funny, ironic, this picture. Like, if you look at this picture, the distance, it's kind of symbolic there. The distance between Mark Carney and Danielle Smith, it kind of represents the gap. We'll see. He's wearing black, she's wearing white. Interesting. Anyone sick and tired of politicians posting pictures of their productive meetings while accomplishing sweet nothing? Fuck all. Yeah, like I said, we got immigrants running wild. Like, immigration's run wild. We got housing we can't afford. We got healthcare falling apart. We got still got all this LGBTQ mental illness flowing around, and we got to worry about all they got is stupid photo ops. Next post. But, you know, maybe they'll surprise us in a year and we'll have all this stuff going, dug shovels in the ground. And I don't think so. Next post. Did parents in the 70s and 80s and 90s really allow their kids to roam freely, or is that just a portrayal scene in the movies? That's totally true. I remember when I was a kid in the 80s, we were like wild dogs. My mom was at work, so we had to fend for ourselves, and we were just roaming the streets, trying not to die. And then the lights on the street lights came on, so we're like, shit, we're going home. So yes, it's totally true. Totally true. My parents didn't even care. Even if the street lights came on, they didn't. Well, maybe my mom did. My dad didn't. He was like, whatever. He'll show up. Here's the video of Dave in Toronto. He's in Toronto. I don't like his pizza reviews. I think he always gives low numbers. Like, he gives too many sevens and stuff. It's like, who the hell are you?
Believable. We got Frankie Lazzani's whole story, which
okay, he's in
we
front
got
of
Frankie Lazzani's whole story, which almost seemed borderline not believable. Like, see, there we go. There we go. What do you guys?
Everybody's laughing.
Like, see, there we go. There we go. What are you guys fucking laughing at?
Nobody likes you, Portnoy. That's
every
why. They all think you're a fucking clown. That's why.
We won't let that.
Poor guy. He's gonna cry.
Toronto hospitality there.
That's terrible. Terrible. There's old school and then there's no school.
There's no school.
I live here.
To be fair,
Frankie Lazzani.
To be fair, Dave Portnoy is kind of a piece of shit. So. Too many reasons to list. All right. Brian Garrettson's popular today. Brian, British Columbia is a joke. This is why nothing in Canada will ever get done. So, BC Deputy Premier Nikki Sharma said Smith's proposal for a bitumen pipeline to BC's northern coast, such as by revive and install Northern Gateway, has no proponent at this stage. So just like Danielle Smith was just talking about the Northern Gateway, they have no plan in BC of doing it. So they got a bunch of hippies there in BC. They ain't going to do no heavy oil pipeline there. All right. It'll be interesting to see how it all rolls out. Here's a Pierre Poilievre on his birthday talking about immigration. He calls it a liberal nightmare. Dramatic immigration surges of modern times. Canada has cratered housing affordability, kneecap productivity, and concealed the streets. So he's basically quoting from OECD report. But he didn't need no OECD report to say this a year and a half ago. Like I said, Donald Trump during the election, the first words that came out of his mouth, I remember, close the border, immigration. Because that's what the polls, But Pierre didn't have the guts to do it. He doesn't believe in nothing. This guy, he's a globalist. Next story, our latest on India criminal enrichment of Canada. a man, and whatever from BC have been charged with first-degree murder in Mississauga after businessman Harjit Dada allegedly refused to pay a $500,000 extortion fee. So, Indians killing Indians in Canada. So, I don't know. Is that how they do business in India? If you don't pay, we kill you. That's probably not a good thing to import to Canada. This is another thing. In Niagara region, bank was robbed by armed thugs wearing whiteface. So this is like reminds me of the movie The Purge. In Niagara, not in Toronto, in Niagara. They say Canadian cities are becoming more dangerous than U.S. cities because you can't go to jail here. It's impossible. If you do something in the States that would put you in for 20 years, here you get bail. So these guys are probably all on bail, these guys in the mask. This Conservative MP, this is another thing. Conservative MP calls COVID mandates in Canada full communism. He's former medical officer health for a health unit in Ontario. He got in a clash with Doug Ford, and he became a Conservative MP. Probably another reason Doug Ford hates Pierre. But he probably should have said this. Pierre probably should have been saying this a year and a half ago again about the COVID, just like with the immigration. He won't say it because he's a coward. There's Michael Rappaport. What he's saying about the Israeli effort to win the public war debate, the public relations war going on over their image, and you can tell it's not going good. We got Michael Rappaport ready to burst a temple here, because he knows they're losing, and he's basically saying nobody's coming to help the Jews. It's like, oh yeah, we're bombing children, but nobody's coming to help us. And then here's Andrew. Andrew Coyne is the name. He's the writer. He's on CBC all the time. He used to be influential. Now he's just he basically calls, when Max called them parasites, he said far-right leader, far-right language, repellent, ugly, and hateful. How far he has fallen. So basically, Andrew Coyne's a globalist. He likes all the globalist wars, and he loves Canada being flooded with immigrants. So he pulls out the old hate, the whole hate card here. But Rupa, who is actually Indian, Rupa Subramanya, said, Andrew, with respect, you're turning in a blind eye to the realities of immigration from countries like India. We're not getting their best and brightest. If we were, there would be no argument from me. The social contract is fraying, and continued denial only makes things worse. We're seeing rising strain on resources, a disturbing pattern of crimes, many involving single Indian males. This isn't sustainable, and it's not what immigration should look like. Shouldn't look like at all. I say Andrew's part of the problem, and when I say he's part of the problem, when I said it's like for 10 years we couldn't discuss it. Couldn't have this conversation. And because of guys, gatekeepers like this guy, Andrew Coyne, he's paid to stifle this kind of talk on immigration. Now he's busting his temple here because he knows they're going to lose. And here's the polling number. Carney 47, Polyev 28. Pretty bad. And Polyev down 6 points. Obviously he's not in the public eye as much. So yeah. That's the end of the day's feed. So just got to sit back and watch these clowns work, I guess. I don't know, man. We're screwed. Make your getaway plans. We'll see what they come up with. We'll see what Trump does. We'll see what new war developments bring. Just chill out and enjoy the weather. So the next broadcast will be Friday, Friday, June 6th, 9 p.m. Eastern. So until then, everybody have a nice night and good night.